Thanks for joining us tonight at School Psych Podcast. We're really happy to be here. A couple of things that we're going to be talking about. Our overall topic is School Psychology Awareness Week, SPA, which is coming up. So we're kind of getting pumped and want to see how you guys are preparing for that and if anybody's doing anything really fun. We've got an awesome guest who has a background in music, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but you may know him from YouTube and some of his school psych songs. We're going to talk about just general prep for SPA, and some of the things that NASP has been doing and some of the resources that they have up there, including the videos and the Twitter chat that they just had, which was a blast. And then we also might talk a little bit about psychs collaborating with other disciplines, especially social workers, given our guest's background. But anyways, my name is Rachel. I'm a school psychologist, and I'm working in Maryland. Rebecca?
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm a school psychologist in the state of Connecticut, and I want to tell you guys that I have posted a bunch of links on School Psyched podcast page on Facebook. So just look at for those links under the top podcast. We'll maybe referring to them. Included in those links are Jay's great SPA videos from years past. And also we're hoping to hear your questions, comments, ideas for SPA week. So please feel free to post them there on Facebook, on School Psyched, Your School Psychologist, the other Facebook page, on Twitter using the hashtag Psyched Podcast, or very simply right next to our YouTube video. I'll be checking for notifications and I'm hoping to include your comments and questions in our discussion. And now here's Eric.
Hi, I'm Eric, and I'm a school psychologist in Connecticut as well, and I'm subbing for Anna. And I would like to introduce our guests. So this evening we have Jay Peterson, and Jay is a social worker. He graduated in 2005 with an MSW from Dominican University in River Forest, Illinois. He's worked as a school social worker for 10 years and currently works as a school social worker in an elementary school in School District 308 in Oswego, Illinois. And Jay is known for incorporating some creative music into what he's doing with students. And he plays trumpet, piano, guitar, and bass guitar. He's married and has 2 daughters who are 8 and 10. Jay?
Hey, welcome.
Hello.
Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. I really, really appreciate it. It's great to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. So, Jay, can you tell us, I was really excited to learn the story of how you got started and became what I like to call the School Psychology Awareness Week Music King.
Oh my, I didn't know it was that big. Well, a few years back, I was working at the same school I'm working at now. The school psychologist and really, really good friend of mine, Megan, started working at the school. It was her first year. And she kind of noticed that as I was walking in the halls or I was talking to kids, I would sing a lot, which is just me anyway. I just like to sing and be goofy. And I would change the words to songs. I would be singing popular songs and just something popped into my head and I'd start changing the words to songs. So it's getting to be September, October, and she finally just comes up to me one day and says, you know, this is School Psychologist Awareness Week. I'm like, something I've never heard of before. But that was it. And she said, we should write a song for that. I'm like, oh, okay. So I don't know, I was goofing around and I don't know why, but I have a knack for kind of spoofing songs. And so thinking about, and so, you know, my downtime at home or whatever, I just kind of came up with some lyrics. And we were goofing around in my office one day and she recorded it. And that's as far as I thought it would go. I thought we were just having fun, and I think the first song was to Hakuna Matata by Lion King, and we were just goofing around, and she thought it was great. And then lo and behold, I heard that she posted it or sent it to NASP somehow, and she told me about it. She sent me the link, and she said NASP has retweeted this or sent it on whatever. And then she kept on showing me the hits on YouTube, 2,000 hits, 3,000 hits, and Facebook and everything. I was like overwhelmed by that because it was really just meant to be a kind of cool thing between friends, as more of a respect for psychologists that I have. I think school psychology is a wonderful profession, and it was just more to be more between us friends. And so when it kind of exploded like that, she made me do another one the next year. It's like, you got to do another one. So I did another one, and then another one, and from there, it's just been something that I kind of start planning for now. It's kind of fun for me now. So I definitely do it in honor of you guys. I don't do it for the fame or for the hits. I do it just because I really respect the profession, and I really think, I've made a ton of great friendships, and I've learned so much. There's so many things you don't learn in grad school, and there's so many things you don't learn when you're even going through the days of learning at a school or working at a school. And I've had some great school psychs that I've been had the pleasure of working with that have taught me so much. So if I can give back just a little bit by just creating some funny songs and posting them to YouTube, I am more than happy to do that. So that's kind of the story, and there will be a new one. I promise there will be a new one. Fall is coming up in a week or two, so just be on the lookout for that YouTube channel. I'm sure it'll get retweeted and sent out by a whole bunch of school psychs. So.
For sure.
Yes.
We always look forward to your songs every year, Jay. They are just hilarious and fun, and they really capture this really nice spirit and energy of School Psychology Awareness Week. So we're so grateful for that, and it was so cool. Yeah, I loved your story too. I bet your friend is so proud.
She's the one that kind of took it off. So yeah, we're both kind of amazed by how far it got. But yeah, it's fun.
Cool. Can you give us a little hint about what's going to come this year?
Well, when I usually write songs, I kind of look at what's kind of hot in pop culture at the time. So outside of Hakuna Matata. But I know I did one of the songs on Watch Me Whip a Nay Nay, and one of the songs was All About the Basque, which was all about the bass. I think one was What Does the Fox Say? I think that was the theme. So what's popular in current culture right now is the musical Hamilton. And I don't know how many school psychologists out there have seen the musical Hamilton or have heard of that music. But the new SPA song will be a rap to one of the Hamilton songs, and that's about as far as I can give you right now. So that's kind of a little taste of what it will be.
That's awesome. That's like you heard it here first. Breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news.
That's awesome. So can you tell us a little bit, Jay, about how you have been all along using music in your work? I know you mentioned that you were always making up song lyrics for your work with kids.
Sure. Well, I have a background in actually working with high school kids, and then eventually got to junior high in Oswego, and then eventually got down to elementary school. And I actually, when I started to work in elementary school, I was terrified just because it wasn't my skill set. And so I was wondering how I was going to be able to communicate with these kids and reach them in a way that's going to be meaningful to them. And also about the time that I started working at elementary school, the school I worked at had a few special ed programs, a few special self-contained special ed programs. One of them was an autism program. One of them was a life skills program. And they were kind of low-functioning kids, some of them nonverbal, just in general, just kind of low-functioning. So I didn't necessarily know from my high school skill set how to engage these kids and help them grow socially and emotionally. And so it was kind of a lot of learning for me. And so I finally connected, one of these programs also had music therapy coming through them. So I observed a couple of music therapy sessions for these classrooms, and I was like, I play guitar too. I could probably figure out some sort of incorporation how to do that. So I started going in and doing groups with these kids, first, second, third graders, low functioning, nonverbal, and just started making games out of these songs, and would use some popular children's musicians and just play guitar and have groups where they're sharing or they're singing or they're dancing or they're following directions, and all along they're growing from where they are, at least, in their social emotional skills in terms of how they're understanding sharing or how they're understanding following directions, so just like very basic stuff. And to watch their faces light up while I'm playing guitar and we're singing songs, I was like, I'm going to start using this more. And it was just amazing for the connection that we got. And the kids' just faces lit up whenever I went to the classroom and started doing these groups. And from there, I just started trying to incorporate music much more into my work with special ed population, the autism life skills, but also work with gen ed population. I would start playing guitar in some of my my regular education groups, or go and play guitar into classrooms. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Second Step, which is kind of a very evidence-based social work or social emotional curriculum, where there's some music things that go along with that. Instead of just popping the CD in, I would learn the songs and just sing the songs with the kids, and it was just amazing. I'd go into first grade classrooms, and instead of, like I said, popping a CD in, singing along with them and engaging with them just made it so much more meaningful to them. So having that skill set of music and incorporating it with being the social worker at my school, I just think really helped me engage the kids in just different meaningful ways. But then again, that was my skill set. So I just used what I had in incorporation with my education to just kind of merge that in, just to reach the kids in different ways. So continue to find that I'm always challenging myself to find music and use music in just different ways with kids in school. So that was long-winded. Sorry about that.
No, that's fantastic. And I'm thinking, I do Second Step as well, and it just popped the CD, and I never thought, bring my guitar in. I keep a guitar in the office, but I think that's a great idea.
Second Step doesn't necessarily post the music, so I had to figure that out myself. But I think it's just a different way to engage kids. So, and when you're doing in person live, it just makes more sense. It makes you look more engaged as the presenter and the counselor.
Sure.
You're doing it that way too. So.
Oh, I think kids would love it. I think that's great.
Yep.
Now, some of us, watching, it's so great to have another profession like school social workers to collaborate with and
Sure.
that kind of speak our same language. I've worked in a couple different districts, and I've seen different models for social workers and different levels of how involved they are with psychologists. For example, in North Carolina, social workers mostly, found resources for families. They would help with truancy and things like that. They didn't actually do any counseling or any testing. In Maryland, where I'm at now, they do a lot of counseling and not so much testing. And I think that you do some of the testing too. Do you want to just tell us about what your social worker role is and how that meshes?
Sure, and it may vary from state to state, like you mentioned, and also probably district to district. I happen to work in Illinois, and Illinois is one of the states, probably one of the highest percentages of school social workers that work in our schools. And at least the model, and I don't want to speak to it for every district, but at least in my district, or at least most in the state, school social workers take the lead in the counseling with gen ed kids and special ed kids, providing that resource through that IEP minutes, but as well as to working just in that general counseling role, and definitely the social emotional lead in the building. That is not to say, though, I don't do any kind of testing, special ed kind of testing. I would do the social emotional realm, BASCs. We do help with Connors and things like that. I've helped with other things, and I'm learning a lot more things, but it's mainly through the school psychs have been a really great help in terms of the diagnostician, in terms of looking at the data through, we might have a parent or a kid fill out a BASC or a Connors, but then looking at it through a diagnostician. But I've been blessed to be able to say that my school psychologists are really considering the ones, if we're going to do a BASC and looking at, and that's going to drive SEL goals, social emotional goals, and I'm going to be the one that's providing that counseling, and I'm going to be the one that's writing that goal, then we have to collaborate with that and just looking at where is this kid at and where do we want them to be in a year in terms of that. So so it's really, really beneficial to have a school psychologist that can assist with the academic testing and with some of the gen ed RTI stuff, but as well as I've really pushed my school psychologists to help with groups when they can, whether it be ADHD groups or whether it be counseling groups for kids that have gone through major family changes, things like that. But they're looking to me for more for that lead in that. But I'm also kind of pulling them along, making sure I know that they have that experience, and I know you got education in counseling and clinical realm too. So even though that's not necessarily the role in Illinois all the time, I'm definitely trying to grab them, get that when I can. So. Like I said, I've been blessed to have great school psychologists that I've collaborated with. So I know that's not always the case, but that collaborative role is so key, especially between professions.
That's great. Are you using the BASC as a universal screener, or primarily for like baseline and progress monitoring for IEP goals?
Right now, it's used as at least in my districts, we're working on universal screeners. I think that there's a lot of using universal screeners that are out there, but a lot of them are not necessarily for everybody. Maybe it's just more of a tier 2 screener kind of thing. So we're looking at different tiers. So my district's working on that. So right now, the BASC is used primarily as a diagnostic tool for when we open up domains on a kid or open up an eval.
Okay.
So that's what our district uses as, but I know others. I believe there's something called the BESS, which is more of a screener that Pearson puts out before the BASC. I'm kind of piloting this thing called the SDQ this year, which is more of a universal screener coming out of a organization in the UK. It was free, but I think they're going to start a charge model, so we'll see if where that goes. But so we're looking at just kind of piloting, and actually say that, but I'm working with the district to kind of get more of a universal screener for SEL as well. So
that's great.
We had a question that came up in the chat. Just somebody wanted to know if you might be willing to share a sample report. What do your reports kind of look like? If you're doing a BASC?
My report? When I write a report, usually most of my reports come out of a report that the state of Illinois wants us to do called the Social Developmental Study. And the main sources of data we get from that, at least as social workers, we do an interview with the parent. We do some sort of interview or just kind of checking in with the teacher. And I like to do in my social developmental study is always interview the kid. I think even if they're 5 years old and they're in kindergarten, I think sometimes lost is when we come to the meeting, come to this big 3-year reeval or initial IEP meeting. We may have an OT, we may have a speech path, we may have a teacher, we may have a psychologist, a social worker, and they're all coming to the table with their information and their data, and that's perfect. But I think one of the things that's always lost is sometimes with the kid. So I always want to be that voice for the kid and see where they think they're at and where they like school. So more specifically though, and how to report on the BASC. That's usually a collaborative role between myself and the psychologist, currently in my district at least. Most times it does actually get the actual blurb of the BASC gets actually put in the psychology report. So I don't usually get to report on that, but I'm aiding in the kind of looking at the data and as well as to drive goals currently. So, but I know there's different ways to report on it and how, if it's a paragraph or it's a couple of pages, depending on what that looks like. So per what your district wants to do with you too. So I don't necessarily know I have a sample, but I probably could get one of those offline if I can get an email or something. I could probably do that.
Let's see.
So I'm tweeting as we're talking because I'm trying to be more and more Twitter savvy if I can. But one of the things that I love about your work, and especially for School Psych Awareness Week, is how your music can create this feeling of awareness for our roles in the building, but also with kids, like so for each other, what we can do to inspire each other to have a great, not only School Psych Awareness Week, but just have an impact in our buildings, and also our work with kids to really make connections with our students. And so I'm wondering about what other kinds of SPA resources people are using out there, how else are people creating this positive energy in their building, and how else are they expressing their enthusiasm for the fields and for their roles. I did post on School Psych podcast page, as I said, your videos, and I also posted the NASP School Psych Awareness Week resources, which are wonderful and include a short little video from Rachel, Anna, and I on introducing yourself to students, maybe at the beginning of the year or to a new group. But what else is going on out there? What do you all do? I'll just pose this question to anybody. What do you all do for School Psychology Awareness Week? And what resources do you look to?
And I'll say, like, on my end, one of the associations, my countywide association, like at our last staff meeting, they handed out like the little footprints template and whatnot, and just kind of were like, here, use that, because that's one of the resources that NASP has up on the website, is the little footprints activity there, and I thought that was cool. Also, as we were talking though, I was kind of thinking, I mean, NASP has a lot of good stuff that's free on the website, and then they also have kind of the members only, some things like that. Does anybody know, maybe some people, maybe some NASP people watching might know, if you're not a school psychologist, are you able to get a membership to access, like, I'm just thinking about our social worker friends out there who, would benefit from the resources that NASP has. Is there a non-psych membership for NASP? I'm not sure. Do you happen to know anyone, Rebecca?
I don't. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either, although I do know that some people that work for NASP but come from other fields. So it's possible. And I did post also from NASP a document about the differences between the differences in the collaboration possibilities among school psychologists and school social workers. So it seems as though this is something NASP has thought about. It was actually posted by a school, St. Mary's College, it looks like, but it's from the National Association of School Psychologists, and the title is, "What's the difference between a school psychologist?" Oh, this is school counselor, but school social worker is mentioned here, I believe. So there's so many of us that are trained in mental health supports, but the training is different in all three of those programs: school counselor, school social worker. And I think that one of the differences is we have, and in my program where I came from, one difference was I had the school psychologist program had an extra year, and that extra year was, I think, the focus on testing. Like the assessment piece took up 2 semesters of coursework, but I'm not quite sure. Do you know if school counselors have? I know school counselors had a 2-year program, and we have the 3-year program. What about school social workers? Do you know what how long most programs are?
Typically, it's a 2-year program, and there's typically 2, I guess, field placements they're called.
Uh-huh.
One is kind of more of a first year, more it's like a generalist. You could work at a social service agency kind of thing. And if you do want to go the specialty of school psychology, or school social work at least, you do need to do an internship. I think it varies the hours, but it's a full calendar school year at a school. So it's generally a 2-year program, not a 3, like school psychology.
Yeah.
And how are you guys structured as far as departments? Like, I've been in districts where the school psychologists are under special education. The place where I'm at now, we're under pupil for something else. We're in the Office of Psychological Services, and we're not under special education. And we kind of co-share that Office of Psych Services with the school social workers in my district. Where do you guys fall in your district as far as departments?
Sure. I think probably mostly it would probably be under the title of special ed. Because I think psychologists and social workers both do so much work at least in our district, in the gen ed realm as well. It's not necessarily a kind of a absolutely this or absolutely that. Funny you mentioned that, because our district actually was one of the ones just kind of the special ed co-op that that I was working for 9 years just kind of folded, and now I am employed directly through our district. So I was a psychologist, social worker, speech paths, OTs, PTs. We're directly under a special ed co-op umbrella, and now we're through the district. So I think that speaks to a bunch of things, but mainly because they understand our role in special and in the general ed population as well, not just kind of the special ed realm off in the corner. So I think it's important to understand that school psychologists and school social workers and school counselors can have a major role in working with general education students as well. So,
yeah.
But I'm sure that's going to vary district to district, state to state, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And when you're working with students in counseling and your colleague, the school psychologist, may be doing some assessment, do you guys have time before like the official PPT meeting or things like that to collaborate on your goals and so that you can kind of learn more about the student together? Do you guys have a system for that, or is it just...
Not necessarily always. It depends on the kid. If it's a 3-year reeval, and I know the kid well, I'd say I've been working with this kid for 4, 5, 6 years, and it may be just one of these things where we're not collecting as much data because we have all this informal data of things we see in the classroom and maybe behavior chart data, things like that. We can use that. But if it's a brand new student that we don't know, certainly I'm much more apt to collaborate with the school psychologist and say, where is the student right now? Let's look at all the data. If we're using rating scales, or we're doing time on task observations, or we're using behavior rating scales, we're looking at behavior charts, input from the teacher, and that's where we kind of drive our services, whether it be school social work or whether it be any kind of other break choices, things like that, calming down choices that they can make. So that's mainly driven by the school psychologist and myself. Absolutely.
That's awesome. What a great partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really so many things are data driven, and we need data to measure progress and what kind of supports the student continues to need, or reducing support. So that's fantastic. Nice collaboration. I did just Google NASP membership, so allied professionals can join as associate members. So other disciplines, it looks like.
Oh, very cool. Okay,
Yeah.
That's great. I like that NASP encourages those partnerships even outside of our buildings.
Yeah.
I find I learned so much from social workers, school social workers, and other child adolescent social workers online and through your professional organizations, especially on on Twitter or Facebook. You guys share a lot of great resources, which I love, like lesson plans and counseling theories and techniques. So I think that you guys are, I think as school psychologists, we're just maybe getting to be able to do more of that, sharing and collaborating on social media. But it seems like you guys have been doing it for a while.
And we do that too, but we have a pretty nice, at least in my district, we have a pretty big district, and we PLC, or personal learning community, all the time. And we're constantly sharing resources, what's working in our buildings, what's not working in our buildings. And then there are just great supports for each other. And I know the school psychologists in my district do as well, where they're gathering either once a month or once a quarter to gather resources together, and as well as just share strengths and concerns and frustrations and things like that. So I think that's especially important. And when we work in these professions that you can get burnt out, you get stressed out, to be able to know that you're not alone and there's other people that can give you a support, whether it be within your district or just nationwide, whether it be just collaborating resources through your national organizations and sharing resources, social media, things like that. That's wonderful. So yeah, I know social workers do that a lot, but I see a lot of school psychologist stuff on that too. So that's great.
Yeah, we had a comment too. One of our viewers said, as far as School Psychology Awareness Week, that she thought she's thinking of sending a daily email to colleagues that's catchy and informative. I like that a lot too. Just kind of like like Go Team email in the morning would be really nice with some ideas for the day.
Yeah.
Sure.
One of my districts, we were required to do something, which kind of took the fun out of it. I like Jay because you like it. The district that it was like, okay, you have to do something for SPA and you have to document it and send it in. I was like, ooh.
Pressure. Yeah. Well, since I don't have anybody else in my building, a school social worker or another psychologist, but what I like to do, since I'm the only one, is to try to foster my relationships with teachers, because I collaborate a lot with them, of course. And so if I can send out one of those cute little candy bar cards or those kinds of just reminders that I appreciate them and I'm grateful for their collaboration, and that I'm happy to have my job. So just a reminder that I'm here, and if they need me, they know where to find me. So that's what I like to do for School Psychology Awareness Week.
Does anybody out there, or Eric or Rebecca or anyone, feel a little bit awkward about SPA in that, it's kind of like, especially if you're the only one in your building, you're the only school psych, and you come up to people who, like Jay, you said you had no idea what SPA week was. But
I didn't know.
And it almost seems like it's a hey, look at me, or hey, give me stuff, or something like that. And I don't want it to come off like that, so I always feel very awkward. I'm like very cautious how I introduce SPA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know. So is that just me, or is that?
No, I totally agree. That's why I like to make it about my relationships with teachers, because I don't want them to think, hey, it's the week to notice me, people. To notice and appreciate me. So I try to turn it around.
Right.
But I do, and I'm an early career person, so I haven't had that many SPAs in general, but I like the sentiment of SPA, that creating awareness about what we do and how we can help and how we, want to help. And so that I think is important, and to focus on that makes it less about sort of celebrating us, and more about celebrating our work with kids and how we can help the already awesome work that other people in our building are doing with kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like that. Just for the same reason. We have Boss's Day and Teacher Day and Nurses Day, Secretary's Day in my school, where somebody does a lunch, the kids make cards, and I don't want to feel like I'm expecting that, or there's Eric seeking attention or something.
Yeah.
But if I focus on relationships with the teachers and the support of our role, I think it becomes less awkward and more of an awareness of what we do, which is what the week is for.
Sure. And then outside of our buildings, I think it's a great week to kind of, wrap our imaginary arms around each other and just say, good job, because our work can be really hard, and it can be, sometimes just everything in education can be really hard. And to keep that that feeling of encouragement and progress is really important. And so I like that too. Outside of the building, I love the SPA Week posts and the resources that people share and the ideas that people share, because it's kind of energizing. And it's good timing, in November.
Yeah.
And social media, I know, helps a lot, and that kind of segments us into just bringing up. We talked at the last episode about NASP and Twitter chats and how we are excited about that. And so Rebecca and I were involved in the NASP SPA Twitter chat, and it was a lot of fun, and it was kind of nerve-wracking because I'm not super Twitter savvy, but there was a lot of good discussions and thoughts and encouragement that came out of that Twitter chat. I don't know, what did you think about it, Rebecca?
Yes, it was so much fun, and our fabulous friend Clem from NASP is such a Twitter savvy person, so he definitely helped me learn about Twitter chats and how inspiring they can be. And I thought we together created some really nice, interesting questions around School Psychology Awareness Week, and people were able to comment and share resources. I thought it was just like a really feel-good time on Twitter, and I think that hopefully we're working on getting a sort of a summary of the Twitter chat out there. But if you look for the hashtag NASP Advocates, you'll probably see it, because it wasn't that long ago, right, Rachel? It's probably still out there, and you can look under all the questions for all the great ideas that people had to share for what School Psychology Awareness Week means to them. What kinds of things have they tried? Are there any barriers? Some of the things we're touching upon tonight in our conversation as well. But yeah, Twitter chat was definitely fun, and I'm glad that NASP is doing more of those. It's also another way to stay inspired and connected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Jay, when your new song comes out, we're definitely going to be sharing it also on Twitter, and looking forward to breaking that story too.
Well, thank you for that. I hope it is worthy of your share and your tweet and all that. Yes.
I have total faith.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. Right. Is there, if you guys have any comments or any last minute things on how you're celebrating SPA and what you're doing, or any thoughts about anything, tweet that to us or put it in the chat box and let us know, because I think we're getting ready to wrap up unless anybody else has anything else to touch upon. I know that next podcast is looking like November 22nd. And we're hopeful to have Dr. Nagulari on. So it's a big name in our field. And we've been emailing with him and haven't done so recently. So I'm a little bit like, oh, I hope he still remembers us when we set this up. We kind of, got these kind of starstruck. But so yeah, super excited for that. But Jay, thank you so much for coming on. And
thank you so much. It was a blast. Yep.
And for all that you do, we are going to be playing your songs on a loop.
That's right.
All
right. Well, are you seeing any other comments, Rebecca?
I'm not right now. Check us out on Twitter, #PsychedPodcast. You'll see some of the comments and retweets there. But I think, and NASP Advocates, yes. We had a question about the NASP hashtag to look for the Twitter chat. And actually, that hashtag is, and Clem said we will be sharing a one-pager and a story file from the recent NASP Advocates Twitter chat. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that. And it is #NASP Advocates. So that's great. And just for this conversation, look for the #PsychPodcast and come to our Facebook page where you'll see Jay's videos and the NASP resources for SPA Week. And please feel free to post any ideas or resources that you find too, because we can continue this conversation over time.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Have a great SPA Week.
Bye.